Taiwan, I'm Laurel Stewart with the news from here in Taiwan and around the world. President Lai Ching-te's plans for a crucial national security briefing have fallen through. It was a meeting that had been several weeks in the making, but opposition party leaders refused to join. Our reporter Leslie Liao joins us now with more on this. Leslie, what was this briefing meant to be about and why didn't it happen?
Laurel, so this long-anticipated national security briefing, which was supposed to happen on Wednesday morning, would have been the first time a sitting president addressed opposition leaders on sensitive national security issues. So that's quite significant considering the rising tensions in the Taiwan Strait and the threats that China continues to pose to Taiwan. But unfortunately, this meeting will not go through. Main opposition Kuomintang chair Eric Zhu and smaller Taiwan People's Party chair Huang Guocang both said that they would not attend. Apparently, there were some disagreements over the format of the meeting and items on the agenda as well. Originally, this meeting was supposed to break the ice between Taiwan's ruling and opposition parties, which are feuding intensely right now. President Lai Ching-te first proposed this briefing during a speech on his one-year anniversary in office. Now, the presidential office has expressed regret at the opposition leaders' decision, but they say that the door for communications continues to be wide open.
So, Leslie, why did the opposition turn down the invitation?
So one of the reasons that TPP chair Huang Guocang gave was that he didn't want this briefing to be just about national security. And there were also disagreements about whether the meeting should be open door or closed door like the presidential office wanted. Another big issue looming over this national security briefing, though, is Taiwan's ongoing mass lawmaker recall campaigns. Civic groups have launched recall campaigns against dozens of KMT lawmakers, and those campaigns are expected to go to a public vote in a few weeks. But KMT chair Eric Zhu specifically said that he wants these recall campaigns called off if there's going to be substantive cross-party talks.
赖总统用你最大的智慧去化解大罢免，才是朝野对话的最重要的一个基础。
The DPP held its own press conference on Wednesday morning, saying that the opposition threatens national security by blocking legislation meant to bolster Taiwan's defenses. And a DPP lawmaker actually responded to opposition leaders' unwillingness to attend the briefing in a colorful manner.
总统520就跟你讲要做国安简报，邀请在野党大家听一下国安简报。国庆就要直播。 我跟你讲啦，若要直播，恁拢免来啦。要直播就迄国安简报都报报，全台湾包括阿强啊、习近平拢看会到。
Despite those strong words, though, both the KMT and the presidential office have expressed willingness to continue to communicate. So even though this meeting didn't go through on Wednesday morning, there's still hope that the frigid relations between opposition and ruling parties can thaw.
Thanks, Leslie. That was Leslie Liao live from our Taipei newsroom. Several senior Taiwanese defense officials have traveled to Alaska to observe the second Red Flag Alaska Air Force exercise this year. The U.S. Defense Visual Information Distribution Service released a photo showing representatives from air forces across the Pacific, including from Taiwan. It was later removed from their website. The exercise aims to exchange tactics, techniques, and procedures with participating countries and to boost cooperation between their forces. The training runs through June 27th. Taiwan's first domestically made submarine, the Haikun, has completed its initial sea trial. The $1.67 billion vessel is part of the country's bid to modernize its military amid increasing aggression from China. Several countries, including the US and the UK, helped with its development. Taiwan aims to have 2 locally made submarines on active duty by 2027. For more on the Haikun's latest progress, our defense reporter Jaime Ocon spoke to David Sachs, a security analyst with the Council on Foreign Relations.
Part of the funding for Taiwan's submarine program is frozen in the LY until it passed sea acceptance tests, and now we're seeing that underway. What do you make of that progress for Taiwan's military?
Yeah, it's good progress. As you mentioned in your question, the submarines have been highly contested in the legislature, and that was frozen by the opposition until they hit certain milestones. So I think that, hopefully that is now going to be unfrozen if the submarine continues to make progress. Again, you can argue, is that money best spent on submarines, or is it best spent on other capabilities, dollar for dollar? But my argument has always been that that has been resolved. Taiwan's government has been committed to the submarine program. And so the question is, knowing that, is it better to have one submarine or 10 submarines? And given the kind of sunk cost to this program for Taiwan, if all it did was end up with one submarine, that would be a huge waste, right? All the R&D, all the man hours that it's taken to develop this platform, to manufacture it in Taiwan, and now to test it. I mean, your unit costs are going to go down the more you make, because in my view, it is an asymmetric capability. We know that China struggles, at least to this point, with anti-submarine warfare. It adds questions to planners, I think, in the PLA about whether they can find these submarines and destroy them during a conflict.
Let's say Taiwan does complete the program and get 8 submarines in its fleet. How would they be used in a peacetime and in a wartime scenario?
Again, this is something that's incredibly difficult to do, is to find a submarine, and obviously to take it out. It's also something that the United States has a comparative advantage over the PLA and is seen as an enduring US advantage during a potential conflict over Taiwan. So I think that it adds uncertainty to the Chinese planners. So, of course, the question during an invasion, I think, is straightforward, is that they would try to destroy the invading forces crossing the strait.
With these new capabilities, do you think Taiwan has a chance to do some sort of intelligence sharing with the United States and partners, given that it's able to operate in the same area as these countries?
And I think is going to be a big question. If the U.S. Navy is obviously going to bring to bear its own submarines in a potential conflict over Taiwan, then there's going to have to be some level of understanding about the water management between the U.S. Navy and Taiwan's Navy, and which side is going to do what. So that conversation will have to happen. On whether there's going to be intelligence sharing or opportunities for that. I'm not too sure, but I think that at the bare minimum, there's going to have to be probably conversations between the U.S. and Taiwan about what role they play and how to deconflict and manage allied forces during a potential contingency.
That was David Sachs from the Council on Foreign Relations. US President Donald Trump plans to issue another executive order to extend TikTok's deadline to sell its US operations or face a ban, marking the 3rd extension since he took office this year. Trump says the 90-day extension gives time to finalize a deal and protect US data. But the move defies a law upheld by the Supreme Court that requires TikTok's Chinese owner to divest due to national security concerns. The Chinese-owned app was originally set to be banned in January, but with TikTok still expanding and several buyers in talks, analysts now doubt a ban will happen. Tensions are rising in the Middle East, with Israel and Iran exchanging missile strikes and the death toll continuing to rise. As John Van Trieste reports, the question now is how the United States will respond. A warning, some of the images in this report may be distressing.
Raja Khatib's wife and 2 of his daughters are dead. An Iranian missile hit their home in northern Israel. Part of an intense series of attacks, Israel and Iran have been trading all week now. In between the strikes, people like Khatib are left to bury those who didn't find shelter in time. The missiles don't discriminate. This is an Arab Israeli town. Khatib is Muslim. He says he wishes the missile had taken him too. And he has a plea to those with the power to stop the fighting. Do it.
I am paying a heavy price. I lost my dear family. But learn from me. No more victims. Stop the war. Let's end this horrible war in any way we can. Sit at the negotiation table. Talk and end this war. Please, for the sake of future victims.
But that doesn't look likely. As Iranian missiles rain down on Israel, which made the first strike, continues to hammer Iran too. The Iranian Red Crescent released this footage of what it says is the aftermath of an Israeli strike that left people buried under rubble. On both sides, the rhetoric is still sharp too. Israel has warned Iran's leader he faces a fate like that of Saddam Hussein in neighboring Iraq, toppled and executed.
You should remember what happened to the dictator in the neighboring country to Iran, who took the same path against Israel.
While Iran says it's just getting started.
The operations carried out so far have merely been warnings for deterrence, and a punitive operation will be executed soon.
On the ground, on both sides, daily life has been turned upside down as the two fighting powers warn civilians on the other side to evacuate certain areas. In Israeli cities where wailing sirens warn of incoming missiles, some people have taken to underground shelters. Like these people in the parking garage of a Tel Aviv shopping mall. Israel may be at war in Gaza and in conflict with groups around the wider region, but some here say the Iranian missiles are bigger and louder than barrages they've seen from elsewhere. While long streams of jammed cars pour out from Iran's capital, Tehran, a big target for Israeli strikes, leaving places like the city's Grand Bazaar shuttered and deserted. The question now is what the United States is going to do, as neither side backs down. The U.S. is a key Israeli ally with the kind of ground-busting bombs that could help Israel hit deeply buried targets. Some Iran watchers say U.S. President Donald Trump's recent rhetoric, including a call for Iran's total surrender, signal that this conflict could soon flare into something even bigger, maybe even something the U.S. gets pulled into.
Right now, we are most likely the hours before a major escalation, rather de-escalation. What Trump has been signaling, tweeting today does not seem to suggest that he has any plans to actually give diplomacy a real chance.
And so, a part of the world already beset with crises faces yet another one, with perhaps even more deadly results. Dolphine Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
In Kyiv, at least 16 people are dead and 134 others are injured after Russia launched one of its largest airstrikes on the Ukrainian capital since the war began. Residents there say they're lucky to be alive.
У мене таке враження було, воно накрило повністю все тіло, все так, з ног до голови. Там з волосся трошки виковирювало. Дрібне скло, повністю все.
The strike is part of a wave of intensifying Russian attacks that Ukrainian officials say are becoming harder to defend against. This one included nearly 500 drones and missiles fired in a single night. Ukrainian officials have called for a day of mourning on Wednesday. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Before we go, let's take a look at the Paris Air Show, showcasing the latest in defense and commercial aviation. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care and see you next time.